Well, as you know, the new year is kicking off very well. We have a lot of great wrestling that's coming our way. But since it's Wednesday, we're going to talk about, of course, Wrestle Kingdom 17. A lot of things have taken place. I mean, we got special matches, we got championship matches, the whole enchilada. I'm looking forward to everything. But also, we got AEW Dynamite. They make their first stop in Seattle. The AEW World Tag Team titles are on the line, and also the TNT Championship. And many things will take place. But first things first, we're going to review the first show of the year made by Pro Wrestling Noah with New Year's 2023, where they feature all their matches, but there is a double main event. The first one is, of course, the GHC Heavyweight Championship between challenger Kenoh and champion Kaito Kiyomiya, putting the title on the line. But the main event, the last one, is is a special singles match. This is one of the matches that many fans have been waiting for. Shinsuke Nakamura making his Pro Wrestling Noah debut, taking on the Great Muta before he disappears into the underworld. And also, we got some news updates to regard what's been going on more on pro wrestling, from anything from injuries, contracts, all the enchilada that's been we can muster into this episode. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Leader Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Lead It Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, let's begin with Pro Wrestling Noah, the New Year's 2023. This is the first show they've done of the start of the new year. It opened up with Taishi Ozawa taking on Yasukata Yano. I thought this match was pretty good because Yano has been very impressive, has been mostly fighting. He's a junior heavyweight, but fighting as a heavyweight, if you notice. But his fisherman suplex, oh my god, that one was really on point. I love what he was able to do, and that allowed him to pick up his win for the night. He is victorious. Next match, we have a very interesting one. We have Shohei Taguchi teaming up with his old teammates, the Funky Express, consisting of Akitoshi and Akitoshi, Saito, and Muhammad Yane. Now, Taguchi left the group because he felt that he wasn't funky enough, so we'll see what happens. But they take on Yoshiki Inamari, Daiki Inaba, and Masa Kitamiya. Now, this is one of those matches where we're like, how would this happen? Since Taguchi hasn't been, teaming up with Funky Express, how would that explain? However, this match ended with, of course, with a roll up, by the Muso, which is a lift up power slam, choke slam onto Yone by Inamari to pick up the win. That's why they call him the Warrior. So yeah. Now, next match, we have the members of Congo, mostly the junior heavyweight. We have Hiroki Tadasuke and Suji Kondo taking on Ninja Mac, Dante Leon, and Alejandro. This match was pretty good. A lot of junior heavyweight spots. Now, however, the story, if you guys remember, there was a time Alejandro used to be a member of Congo. He was known as Aleja, but he turned his back on them. Tadasuke has been determined to destroy him for his betrayal, but he has backup. I mean, two of the most well-established junior heavyweights in Pro Wrestling Noah, Ninja Mac and Dante Leon, but it was, of course, Alejandro with the roll-up on Hiroki that allowed them to win. I'm sure Congo is not happy with this. They probably will get the revenge at some point. Next up, we got the guys from Dragon Gate. M3K consisted of Mochizuki Jr., Suzumu Mochizuki, and Masaaki Mochizuki taking on the two members of the Noah Junior regulars, Seiki Yoshioka, Sushi Koroge, and of course our current GHC national champion, Iko the Dr. Wagner Jr. Now this was a pretty good match because we have seen a lot of interaction with Pro Wrestling Noah and Dragon Gate. I did talk about in the past, as you know, I always did find the junior heavyweight division in Pro Wrestling Noah fascinating. No disrespect to New Japan, but having that with Dragon Gate, awesome. But of course, 3MDK is more aggressive in all this. But however, in this match, it was of course Suzumi who picked up the win by pinning none other than Yoshioka and giving 3MDK the win. So the obvious question is how this is bad for, of course, the Noah Juniors dealing with guys from Dragon Gate. Next up, we have a very interesting match. We have Nosawa Rangai, Kendo Kashin, and Kazuyuki Fujita with a mystery person. We didn't know who it was until it was revealed to be none other than the governor of this prefecture. You guys know him. He's been involved in politics. He's also a former wrestler. We're talking about Hiroshi Hase. We haven't seen him wrestle for quite some time, which was very unusual because I'm sure because he's a politician. I don't know if he was allowed to wrestle, but he's really made the big surprise. They take on the members of Congo, consistent of Hajime Ohara, Manabu Soya, Katsuhiko Nakajima, and of course Masakutsu Funaki. So I was like impressed with this match, but much of this match was revolting on, of course, Hase, who is the veteran of the match. You know, people love the guy. No one didn't think he was going to come back, but it was with him when he applied the Northern Lights bomb onto Hajime Ohara, giving his team the win. I thought that was pretty good. I did hear afterwards that Hase really was in trouble because he went back into wrestling without saying a thing, but I don't know if he was able to work things out. So we'll just wait and see what happens. Next match, we have Jack Morris taking on Timothy Thatcher. Man, this match was so brutal. Now, keep in mind, Timothy Thatcher is one tough SOB. He would put you in joint manipulation, various submissions. I've always wondered, how will Jack Morris survive a guy like him? But somehow he was able to pick up a win when he applied an underhook powerbomb to win. I was surprised. However, the biggest surprise was right at the end at the post-match when we had a surprise visitor coming from All Japan Pro Wrestling. We had Jake Lee. Nobody actually was expecting him to be there, and neither did the fans. I mean, there was no applause or anything. I think that many fans don't like how wrestlers from promotions like All Japan will make their presence known, like without booking it. But we thought in our heads when he was approaching the ring that he's going to beat up Jack Morris, but we didn't know what was the purpose. Seems like he had no problem with it. I'm not sure if he's making the jump with All Japan, because there have been times where All Japan hasn't been that successful for a long time. I mean, they're barely hanging on by a thread, trying to keep their credibility going. But afterwards, Yoshiki Inamari confronted Jake Lee, asking him why you're here. So he asked him that he's looking for a fight. So basically, he's looking for better competition. I mean, he did everything he needed to do in All Japan Pro Wrestling, but I'm not sure is he done with All Japan and made his jump to Noah? That is still unclear. But I will do my homework on that until it happened. But let's just keep moving forward. Now, our championship match, we have the GHC Junior Heavyweight Championship. We have Junta Miyawaki versus Masuka. Now, This happened not too long ago where Miyawaki came back from his little training expedition in Mexico. He challenged his old friend Amasuke, who we all know him known as Hao. Decided to challenge him for the title, but it happened. But I feel like Miyawaki has changed a lot as a competitor. We probably would have thought, okay, he learned some things along the way, but the obvious thing was, how much has he learned since he was in Mexico? And I think that's the obvious thing. But however, I was impressed at the end of this match, where of course Amasuka actually made like reverses to do a somewhat of a crucifix. I'm not sure if that was the right move that he was doing, but man, that was pretty good. But it did allow him to retain the title, and Miyawaki was not so happy. He was like so frustrated that he lost in this fashion. I mean, look, the guy Amasuka was great. I love what he did, but let's just move on from that. Next match is the GHC Heavyweight Tag Team Championship. We have Kenta and Naomichi Marufuji teaming up for the first time in a long time. They take on the current champions, Satoshi Kojima and Takashi Sugiura. I have to say it was a pretty brutal match. I wasn't expecting a whole lot. Now, there was some mention by the commentators of like a little bit of not dissent between both Kojima and Sugiura, but it was more like, can they get along? Because I know they did get along from the very beginning. That something happened when I haven't been watching Pro Wrestling, but they were able to pull so, and not to mention, I have to say Kenta and now Marufuji really pulled off great, even though if you guys know their history between them, they've been friends since they were in the dojo of the All Japan days. If you guys remember, they came from there when Misawa, and now it's like seeing them again. It was it takes you back in time, but unfortunately, this match ended with, of course, Kojima applying a lariat to Marufuji and allowed them to retain their tag titles. Now, our next match we have for the GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles. First up is the champions Yohei and KZ, who won those titles recently. But Eita comes out issuing a challenge, and it turns out that his partner is none other than the person he's been fighting for a long time, and that is, of course, Yoshinari Ogawa. I have to say it was interesting, but it's great to see how somehow Ogawa and Eita were able to get along great, but it was Eita with the win onto Yohei that allowed him to become our brand new GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. So that lets it out. Now, our next match, this is main event number 1. We have the GHC Heavyweight Title, Kenoh versus Kaito Kiyomiya. Now, these guys have a long history together. I mean, if you ever followed the storylines of everything, Kenoh and Kiyomiya hated each other because Kenoh always says that Kiyomiya is a fake wrestler. He says that Kiyomiya is the reason the Pro Wrestling Noah did not make it through the Tokyo Sports Awards because of him. So, because Kenoh always believed he's the real wrestler and Kiyomiya is the faker. So that's always been the case. But Kiyomiya has always proven himself that he is Noah after all. And the real question is, could he survive a guy like Kenoh? Because Kenoh is vicious. He's deadly for what he can do. I mean, I've seen what Kenoh can do. He tried everything, but it only took Kiyomiya 2 shiny wizards to put him away and retain the title. So it's good for him that he's finally shown Kenoh, like, shut up, I'm the champion. You may not like me, but live with it. Now, our second main event is the main event we've all been waiting for. We have Shinsuke Nakamura versus the demon himself, the Great Muta. I thought this match was great too. It was unbelievably good. Muta didn't want to do this match before he disappears into the underworld. I completely loved it. I loved everything. But this match ended with, of course, somehow Nakamura sucked out the green poison mist out of Muta's mouth, and then he spit it into his face. Then he applied the Shaza, and boom, it was over. I have to say, Noah started out the year great having these matches, not to mention the final leg of Great Muta. Now, keep in mind, Muta will have one last match before he hits the Demon World, and that's going to take place on the 22nd of January. I think he will be teaming up with Sting and Darby Allin. So, for all you AEW fans, keep in mind, that's where that. I'll remind you guys later on about that, too, as well. So, let's move on with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, Wrestle Kingdom 17 by New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's huge. It was long, but it was worth it. We have pre-shows that took place. There was like an exhibition match with uh, Bolton Oleg. I don't know who much it is, but I heard that he is a collegial wrestler. He takes on Riho Oiwa, but this match only had a limit of 3 minutes, so it was a double count out from that. So I wasn't too much of a big deal, but dude is huge. Now it's still unclear whether he's part of the New Japan system or one of the young lions. That's something it's still unclear, but hopefully we'll find out more. Next up, we got the New Japan New Japan Pro Wrestling King of Pro Wrestling 2023 right to challenge Rambo. This is one of those Rumble matches where only 4 wrestlers have to remain. We have wrestlers like members of oh, what's their name? The United Empire, like Cobb, Hinare, and Khan. Dark House of Torture, very others, but the ones that remained 4 was previous winner like Yano, who won it twice, Shingo Tagagi, Sho, somehow that little bastard got away with it, and then of course Great Khan. Now Great Khan is looking for gold, New Japan gold. That's what he's been looking for, and the bastard decided to leave with the KOPW belt, pretending that he's gonna win this thing. Hello, you got 3 other guys, so we'll see what happens. Oh yeah, Shingo was in it, despite that he said he couldn't, but he had to due to the fact that he was the previous champion. I forgot about that. Now, our last pre-show they had is a very interesting one. We have some of the veterans taking the stage. We have team number 1, Yuji Nagata, Satoshi Kojima, Togi Makiba taking on Minoru Suzuki, Tiger Mask, and the Dragon Tatsumi Fujimari. Now, this is a very good match. I think this is more they're trying to tap into the spirit of Antonio Inoki. As you know, he passed away late last year, which was a sad moment for the fans of New Japan. However, these guys wanted to keep the spirit of Inoki alive, and what I love, but it wasn't much of a big deal. But it was Makabe who picked up the win by pinning Tiger Mask. But in the end, in the promo, Tatsumi Fujimari had a little promo. Don't know what he said, but I think this was more about let's keep the memory of Antonio Inoki alive, and I think that's the thing. I think this is her dedicating to him, since he would have loved to have been there. That's what I would presume, but we'll see what happens. Now, our first match on the main card, we had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles between Chaos, Leo Rush, and Yo, who recently won the Super Junior Tag League to take on Catch 22. It was a pretty good match, but however, Leo Rush got his face busted and all this stuff, but he continued on regardless how much he was bleeding. But it was, of course, it was a pretty darn match. I mean, I would love to see Show and Leo Rush win, but it did not go that way. It was, of course, the inside cradle by TJP that pulled it off on Yo to retain the titles. He can be smooth, but sooner or later he's going to make mistakes. So they were hoping that this will be the time where they retain the titles for their Wrestle Kingdom moment. Next match, we have the IWGP Women's Championship. First time defended. Kairi Sane puts her title on the line against Tam Nakano, who issued a challenge back in November 20th at the historic crossover. And many people were pretty interested in this. Interesting thing is, both competitors have their seconds, and they were representing Cosmic Angels. Mina was by the side of Kairi and Natsupoi to Tam. Now, some of you are saying, did Natsupoi was in Kairi's corner last time? Yes, but Natsupoi wants to be there for Tam. As you know, Tam has been dealing with a lot with the whole thing with Waka and all this and that. But it was a pretty good match. But however, the back fist sealed the deal with her, and then the instant elbow. But the match itself went up to maybe up to 6 minutes or so. But it exactly went exactly how I predicted during the post match. We just saw who it was. Mercedes Moné, formerly known as Sasha Banks, came out. It appears that she came to make a statement by she botched this move onto Kairi. I don't know what happened, but she did kill it, saying that she's coming for her belt on February 18th in San Jose, California for Battle of the Valley, uh, which I think is going to be a good match. So we will see what happens then. Next match I believe we have is the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles. We have Bushimon, who in Yoshihashi, and Hiroki Goto, who won Tag League this year. They take on FTR. As you know, FTR has been very, very interesting. They recently lost the ROH Tag Team titles, then the AAA Tag Team titles, but however, they showed up to Japan 30 minutes prior before showtime. We don't know how much jet lag they were in, according to what Chris Carlton said, but it was a pretty good match. But in the end, it's exactly how I thought it was going to be. Bushimon with the Shoto on, who was it they put it on Dax Harwood, that allowed them to win the match. And of course, this is the second time in a row for Bushimon to retain the titles. Now, who will most likely come out to challenge them? I would say right now, the moment I feel is going to be Aussie Open. They want to become the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. So that is one of the things that's been clear, but we don't know when will that happen. Now, our next match is for the very first ever IWGP World Television Championship between Ren Narita and Zack Sabre Jr. I think this was a very good technical match. They're both technical wrestlers, and I think it played out pretty well. I mean, there's a reason why Zack Sabre Jr. calls himself the technical wizard, because that's what he does. But he pulled off an impressive win when he did an armbar that forced Ren Narita to win, and he becomes our very first ever IWGP World Television Champion. But in the post match, we just saw Shane Hayes and Mikey Nichols making their presence known. Now, according to Gino, this is information I did not know. It turns out that Zack Sabre Jr. is friends with these guys back during their days with Pro Wrestling Noah. Now, if you guys remember, they actually knew each other from then. Zack Sabre Jr. has been in that promotion, so they offered him to become the new member, but also declaring himself as a new leader. Now, this is where I'm a little confused. They did say there were no leaders in TMDK, but I feel like they do get leadership, and I think this is a good move for Zack because, as you know, Zack Sabre Jr. Recently Suzuki-gun dismantled, so it looks like this is going to happen. But the obvious question is, where do the other members go? Well, we'll find out soon enough when that day comes. Now, our next match is the never openweight title between Tama Tonga and Carl Anderson. If you remember last year, Tama won that title from Evil after he was a problem that he had to deal with. But as soon as he won that match, he was surprised by Carl Anderson. He then held that belt for long until Hikuleo, his brother, challenged him and lost as well. But Tama put up. But the real question is, which gun stun is going to be the one that put each one of them away? And I thought it was a pretty good match. But it was, of course, Tama who pulled off a gun stun off the corner side, and Blammo 1, 2, 3. He's our new never openweight champion. Now our next match, this is a very interesting one. We have, of course, LIJ consisting of Bushi, Sanada, and Tetsuya Naito taking on Shota Umino, the Roughneck, the Ace Tanahashi, and of course the legend Keiji Muto. Now this was a very interesting match. Now those who don't know, Keiji Muto was in first hand responsible for the training of Sanada. If you guys don't know this, when Sanada was unable to make it to the New Japan dojo, he couldn't make the cuts, so he ended up going to All Japan, where at the time Keiji Muto was there before he left and formed Wrestle One. And it was great that he's challenging him, and I think that was great. But here's the thing: Keiji Muto was the master of the moonsault, and something that Sanada has used. But one thing was clear that was made. It's about Shota Umino. As you know, he is the newest young blood in New Japan. The obvious question, didn't make Kevin Kelly. Will the spotlight go to him? You see the moment where, of course, Keiji Muto fed Umino, what's his name, Bushi, and he did the Death Rider on him, 1, 2, 3, and looks like the Keiji Muto sees that everything will be fine, so he picked up a good win. So will Keiji Muto be somewhat of a mentor to him? That is something we could talk about at another time, but is an excellent thought. Now our next match, we have, of course, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Title in a four-way match. This one, you can say Taiji Shimori bit off more than he can chew. He was the one who requested it. But keep in mind, these are guys who three out of the four competitors have already been IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champions. We have, of course, Master Wato, who's never been champion. Hiromu Takahashi, El Desperado, and Taiji Shimori. So Master Wato was the Cinderella of this because he hasn't won. He has been close many times, but this was interesting. But it was Hiromu who picked up the win on him with the time bomb too, and bam, it was right there, brand new champion. Oh, excuse me. It's just a cough. I'm not sick. Next is the IWGP United States title. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. Man, this was a brutal match. You can tell by the look of Will Ospreay in this particular match. He's like saying, "This is my time. I'm the one who's going to carry the company." That's always been his game. The problem was, there are those who are saying Will Ospreay did carry the torch. But to Don Callis' word, it's always been like, no, he did not. He did not. He failed. And I think that's what that gets Will Ospreay going. He gets pissed that because there were no audience cheering, it pisses him off that Kenny did. But it took a lot of movements. I mean, the Hidden Blades didn't work for him. Stormbreaker, all of that. But in the end, it was, of course, with Kenny Omega with the One-Wing Angel that sealed it and become the new IWGP United States Champion. Now, this match could have been without the title, but it became this. But the obvious question is now for Will Ospreay, what would he do next? Basically, he felt that he was the one who's carrying the company on his back, but now it's like, sorry, dude, you didn't do your best. So we'll see what happens. Now, I forgot to mention this earlier. I just kind of messed up on the IWGP Tag Team titles. It was Bushimon well, yeah, I think. Never mind. Just forget. Now, our main event, the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship between Kazuchika Okada and Jay White. Now, Jay White felt that this was still his era, that he is the one who lifted up New Japan from the ground. He felt this was his time. However, he does have a big record against Okada in the past. Okada only has one match against him, and that's in the G1 Supercard, I believe. But this time it's more like, okay, can Okada overcome this? Since he won the G1 Climax, he wanted this to happen. But you know that the X factor here is also that little weasel Ghetto was going to get involved. But there were moments near the end where we see, of course, they tried to apply the Blade Runner and the Rainmaker opposite sides. But in the end, it was the Rainmaker by Okada that sealed the deal for him to win the match. Now, as soon as he was interrupted, before he started his promo, he was interrupted by Shingo Takagi, who says that almost a year ago today, almost today, he lost the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship to Okada. So it looks more like this is something that he hasn't forgotten, and he wants to repay that debt. So we'll see what happens. But he did also give his thoughts about Inoki. As you know, he was hurt by Inoki's passing, that he never got the time to learn from him, and he was in pain for that. But now he feels Inoki's in heaven. He'll look out for us, and I think that's a very touching moment. So uh, I think that's pretty much it with New Japan. Friendly reminder: we do have the latest show, New Year's Dash, and I'm looking forward to that. So I think that's pretty much it right now. So let's move on to our final review, AEW Dynamite. Okay, AEW Dynamite. First time being in Seattle, Washington, the home of both several wrestlers who are from the area, like Darby Allin, Swerve Strickland, and of course Brian Danielson. Now, our opening match is Chris Jericho along with the Weasels, Menard and Parker being by his side, taking on Ricky Starks. Now, this match happened because Ricky Starks turned down the offer to join JSA because Ricky Starks felt, I'm not some god lackey you need to control. And he feels like this is not what he wants, so he put everything on the line. But however, this particular match was amazing because it showed Ricky Starks is another level. But the X factor is those weasels, Menard and Parker, got in the way. Parker did an interference, and of course, Menard used a bat and basically allowed himself to make sure that Jericho wins, but it did not. Ricky Starks had the strength, but he applied the spear onto him in order to win the match. However, in the post match, everybody in the JSA showed they give him a beatdown, but Action Andretti showed they give him a helping hand. But the numbers are still to gain because we have the Bimbos, Ty Mello, and Anna Jay to help out to cause the factor. But Hager was given orders to put Ricky Starks through a table. The obvious question is this will Ricky Stark continue with his feud with Chris Jericho? Well, we'll see what happens then. Now, our interview we do have is Hangman Page. Now, we don't know for sure if he's medically cleared. However, Moxley doesn't seem like he cares, all this and that. But however, I just was moved by whatever Hangman says, but we know he will face him. There's been talk about that it could happen in the LA for the next week event in LA. I'm looking forward to that. So we'll see where it goes. But if it does, I'll be happy to watch it. Our next match is the AEW World Tag Team Titles. Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal taking on the Acclaim. Now, keep in mind, Jeff Jarrett comes out declaring war against everyone, and they wanted to do this, but somehow they were outsmarted. They decided to outsmart the Acclaim by getting rid of Daddy Ass, which they did, and then later they did the same thing with Satnam Singh. But there was a moment where Jeff Jarrett actually pulled off the stroke or something onto Anthony Bowens. Then they picked up the win, but Bowens had his foot there, and it was pushed away by that idiot Sanjay Dutt, thinking they won them, believing the match was won by them. But Aubrey Edwards, who was out there already dealing with the whole thing with Satnam Singh, saw the whole thing and reversed the process. And I think this is not what Jeff Jarrett liked. He felt like they were cheated, and then they tried again, but this time it did not work. Lito tried to use the ropes, but it did not work either until Anthony Bowens actually pin Jay Lethal, and then that was it. But it later was revealed that they would put those titles on the line again on on the Battle of the Belts, and we'll see how this goes because they are Lethal and Jarrett and Twinkle Toes are not happy with it. So we'll see where it goes. Now our next match, I believe, our next we have an interview. Now keep in mind, this is a very interesting. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter feels like Soraya doesn't get it. She doesn't belong in AEW. They felt like that they're the reason the AEW exists. The problem is Britt Baker always says that she's the face of the company, but basically, Soraya did point out you were given everything on a silver platter. But they don't. I don't think they're too bothered by who could their partner be because they always says no one could beat them. But we'll see what happens. But later on, we did see an interview with Soraya with Tony Storm and Shida with Renee doing the interview. It was revealed that Soraya picked Tony Storm. Hikaru, she was like, "What the f?" But however, there's those that are not fully convinced that this was going to happen because of the rumors are circulating, and you guys know what I'm talking about. But that's going to be another time until it happens. If something changes, I will. Thing is this, I'm going to be there on that day. So we'll find out. And then of course we get a video package by Jungle Boy saying that he will get that he and Hook will deal some business with Lee Moriarty and of course Big Bill Morrissey. And this is going to be good. I'm feeling this is Hook is going to be awesome. Now our next match we have Daniel Bryanson taking on Tony Nese. As you know, Smart Mark Sterling is doing a favor for his client MJF. But however, it did not go well for Nese. He pulled out his knee pads and hit his knee bad until um, Danielson kicked his head in, put him in a crossface, and then he passed out. But however, during the match, MJF decided that he doesn't want to deal with him. So he's saying that he runs the company, not Tony Khan or the EVPs. But however, he put up a very interesting stipulation. If he wants a piece of him all the way to Revolution, he'll put wrestlers in front of him that he has to go through. He has to remain undefeated. But Bryan Danielson put a very interesting stipulation if he gets to him. An 1 hour Iron Man. But MJF is 100% confident that there's no way that Bryan Danielson is going to make it. So we'll see what happens then. Now, our next match, we have Swerve Strickland along with his hired guns, Drew Parker and whoever this tattooed freak is, taking on R.A. Fox. As you know, there's history between these two. Much of their styles are similar. Swerve put this match up because he felt that he has some loose ends that he needs to remove. I thought the match was pretty good until Parker Boudreaux passed something to Swerve Strickland, we couldn't tell, and then he stomped him right in the abdomen, and it was over right from there. Now, we do see the As Boys come out humiliating once again FTR. They're claiming that they killed the legacy of FTR, that now they are the living legends. Newsflash, boys, they haven't even won the tag team titles. They never won multiple tag team titles like they did. And I think next week we could see them come back. As much as they think that now that they lost the IWGP titles, it's over, they're not coming back. Keep in mind their contract expires till April. So we'll see if something happens next week. I can't wait to see it. Now, our next match is Sky Blue and Kiera Hogan taking on Jade Cargill and Red Velvet. Now, we have been seeing dissent coming from the baddie camp. We have seen the attitude changing between Red Velvet. Now, keep in mind, Red Velvet was gone for quite some time, but when she came back, Kiera Hogan was out. And I think many people can say the reason she's giving this attitude, I feel that she's like saying, I didn't agree to this to get rid of Kiera Hogan. Now, keep in mind, when Nyla Rose stole Jade Cargill's belt, Kiera Hogan was useless, so I think that was the reason. But there was times that you can tell like she didn't want to tag in. until she finally made the choice to leave. So the obvious question is, what's going to happen now? What's the next logical step? Will Red Velvet leave the baddies and go on her own? If you remember earlier in their, but when Jade Cargill arrived, she began a feud with Brandy, and of course Red Velvet stepped in for her. So we'll see what happens then. Now our main event is the TNT Championship between Samoa Joe and Darby Allin. Darby Allin saw that Joe was grabbed Nick Wayne, legendary the son of Buddy Wayne. I thought this match was pretty good because it showed that the resiliency still with Darby Allin. People told him over time, you can't do it. But Sting gave him the motivation saying, screw what people said. Just do it. And of course, he did. He finished Joe up with, of course, the coffin drop. And that allowed him to become a two-time TNT champion. And also, there was an exclusive content where we see, of course, Darby Allin giving a little sweet promo. He even invited Nick Wayne to the ring. He tells him that one day he will be facing him for this title until he graduates high school. So keep in mind, he's still 17. So that's going to be awesome. Just a friendly reminder, next week, guys, I will be heading to AEW at the Kia Forum with my brother and two of my closest two friends. One of them I'm close with from years ago. I'm excited for that. I'm looking forward to seeing AEW. I will not do an episode on that. I will do basically a vlog. Now, the idea what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to record the trip, and then, of course, will not release it until Saturday on the, hold on, what day would that lead to? So, till the 14th of Saturday. I'm trying to make sure, because the thing is, I don't want to spoil things for people for the Rampage event. So I'm going to be cutting and editing the whole thing, see how it goes. But for now, let's just leave it as that, and we'll move on to our last thing, news updates. Okay, so here for our news updates taking place. Now, first things first, I want to give my condolences to Dustin Rhodes over the passing of his mother. It's sad, eventually things like that happen in life. Um, Me personally, I know that one day my mom will not be here. That's why I spend time with her whenever I get a chance, because I want her to leave this earth. And I'm sure Dustin did the same thing. So, thoughts and prayers to him and to the rest of his family. And that's pretty much it. So, now our next thing we have, as you all know, Dark Puroresu Flowsion has did another interview, but this time with Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling star Mizuki, from the Magical Sugar Rabbits. She put out a very interesting interview, and I think I want to share this with everyone. So let's see what she had to say. There are a lot of talk around your moves, the whirling candy. How do you move come to existence? And she responded, I wanted to turn a negative aspect of being thin in terms of my body shape into a positive one. So I moved with a crossbody. It's something that no more damage and arrived at it. Do you have any interest returning to the States doing some matches with AEW? Do you have any wrestlers you pay attention from the promotion? I'm more I I'm more than willing to give it a shot as a Magical Sugar Rabbits. If so, I could meet Emi Sakura again in the wonderful ring of AEW. Well, she already faced her before. I don't know if she lost that match. Then final question: you never been the Princess of Princess champion? The belt's been held by by your partner Yuka Sakazaki. Would you like a shot of her title? Your singles match against her always great. And she answered, finding Yukasaki, it requires a lot of emotional preparation. But she is someone I want to surpass for a long, long time. So basically, they're asking her, will she come to AEW? I would love to see her do. I mean, she has come to the States before. I'm sure she'll be coming back for the March 31st event taking place at the Globe Theater in LA. Uh, and she's right. She's never won the Princess of Princess Championship, so we'll just wait to see what happens then. Now, new update on the JCW J-Cup. They announced that Marcus Mathers is the next entrant. Now, keep in mind this J-Cup will take place on the 18th of February. Match has been announced for the West Coast Pro for 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. We're going to have Marshall Slamovich taking on Brooke Havoc. GCW Save Me event that takes place on the 7th of January, which is this month. We're going to have Starboard Charlie versus ASF. Freelance Wrestling has announced for the Any Given Sunday that takes place later on. We're going to have a 3-way Storm Grayson, Trevor Outlaw, and Effie. GLEAT has announced for their event taking place on the 8th of January. Version 5, they announced for some matches taking place. So this is what they announced. We're going to have, of course, a G Rumble match. I'm not sure what that's about. Then we have um, Tomoaki Hamna and Michiko. Then we have the guys from Just Step Out making their way. Rura Takekura and Masayoshi Miyagi. Then they take on GLEAT's very own Takanori Ito and Yu Izuka. And I had a feeling this match was going to take place. We have a USWF rules match with Mai Fukuda taking on Yuta Suzuki. If you guys remember, it was Fukuda who actually defeated her by knocking her out in the last event. So I had a feeling this was going to take place. And then another UFW rules, we have Hideki Shrek Sakin with Ryo Inoue. They take on Oji Shiba and Seichi Ikamoto. Then we have another amazing singles match. We have Kaz Hayashi taking on Luigi Primo. And then, of course, we have Bushi taking on Jun Tonsho. This is going to be good. And then finally, we're going to have the winner of the G Rumble take on Linda Man for the G-Rex title. Now, Stardom has announced for upcoming events for the remainder of this month. We have the Triangle Derby continue on in Nagoya. There's been there's a press conference regarding this particular event, these events, which another New Blood 7 will take place on the 20th of January, and of course we have the Stardom Award 2022. There's a press conference for that, but I will release that as a special episode along with a very reviewing match involving Unagi, so that's going to be part of the Unagi Sayaka watch, but we'll save that for some other time. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode coming up. I'm hoping that we're going to have Impact Wrestling and MLW back to its regular scheduled programming. I'm also going to be reviewing New Japan Pro Wrestling with New Year's Dash and Tokyo Pro Wrestling's latest event that took place also on the 4th of January, and I'm finally going to see what happens. I'm going to hold off on events I haven't seen from the remainder of December. Hopefully, I can catch up to that. I think that's pretty much it for now. So let's just say I'll see you guys in next DWZ time. Same DW channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.